everybody, and welcome to another episode of Blood on the Razor Wire TV, where we bring it to you real and we bring it to you raw. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, definitely share the video. I don't know yet, but I think this will probably be one of the best videos that we've done at Blood on the Razor Wire TV because of the person that we got on here. But I'm not going to keep talking. I'll let him introduce himself and tell you guys who he is, where he's from, and how much time he's done, and we'll get to it. You got the camera.
What's up, everybody? My name is Larry. In the prison system, I went by Crash. That was my moniker. I'm originally from Alaska. I was sent to a private prison from Alaska in Colorado and caught a bunch of institutional charges there that turned my 3-year sentence into 15. I ended up doing 14 years, and I've been home right now for about 4 years.
So they called you Crash.
Yes, sir.
That's a hell of a name, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that because, I mean, some people don't know what crash is, right? So in prison, when people talk about crashing, what are they talking about?
So crashing is basically not giving a fuck, just doing whatever, whenever, however, just get it done. Doesn't matter if you're going to get caught. Most of the time you're going to get caught. Just go for it. Basically like a kamikaze.
Crazy life to live, right? So
Yep.
You're from Alaska, but you ended up in the prison system in Colorado, correct?
Yes, sir.
So in Colorado, I know that they had a crew down there called the 211 crew, right?
Yeah.
Were you part of the 211 crew? Are you allowed to talk about it?
I mean, I can say I was at one time part. I'm no longer. It's not 211 crew anymore. I'm not really going to talk about what it is. It's there was 3 groups that have came together now, so it's not really 211 crew anymore. It's everybody's under 211 crew, but it's all one. There's only one white gang in Colorado now.
And you can't say what gang that is, right?
I mean, it's known. It's Aryan Empire.
Okay. It's all good. So the 211 was kind of like a white gang, right?
211 was a white gang. It was founded by Benjamin Davis. He was actually at one time a Blood, and he came into the prison system in Colorado in the 90s and wasn't treated fairly by the blacks, and they were ran over by the black and Mexican gangs. And he started his own gang, and it blew up.
I was in federal prison, man, and I had heard about the 211 gang from federal prison.
Yeah, there was a big thing. One of my bros actually got out in 2013 and killed the prison director in Colorado.
Yeah, that's how everybody ended up finding out about 211. But why did he go kill that prison director? Was it because they locked him in a cell and he just snapped? What was it?
Honestly, I really can't talk a whole bunch about it. Basically, they were ad sagging us. They listed 211 crew in the prison system as a domestic terrorism. Like we're FBI labeled domestic terrorists, and they were ad sagging us all. And in Colorado, they do have parole, but what they were doing was they get funding for every prisoner they parole. The state gets a funding for this many prisoners paroled. But what they were doing was they were paroling us to our mandatory release date. So on paper, we were paroled, but we were still stuck in the prison system. We didn't get out until our mandatory release date, but on paper, they were saying we were paroled. So we would end up sitting there maxing our sentences out, but they were locking us down. We were in 24/7 lockdown. I mean, you were lucky if you got out 3 times a week to get a shower, handcuffed to the shower. No outside time whatsoever. No, they did not have rec cages at the time. They do now, but at the time they did not. We would literally walk from one cell to another in handcuffs, be in there for an hour. There's a pull-up bar in there, and then to the shower for 20 minutes, locked in a little metal box, and then back to your cell, and that was it. And I did 7.5 years like that.
Crazy. I know you talked about you started with 3 years, but ended up with a 15-year sentence, right? What was that for?
Yes, sir. So Alaska had sent us from Alaska to a private prison in Colorado. Alaska doesn't have a bunch of prisons. They've recently built some new ones, but they used to send everybody with more than 2 years or that was STG. They would send us out of state to contract prisons. We went, I believe at one time we were in Mississippi. I know we were in Arizona for probably 10 years. And then the Arizona contract ended and we ended up in Colorado. And Colorado was a little bit different because we opened a prison there. So they hired a bunch of people from Walmart to be prison guards. They told them all that they were going to have minimum security prisoners coming, and then they filled it up with gang members. And not only did they fill it up with gang members, up in Alaska, it's not always, but they keep a lot of the sex offenders have their own pod. They have their own movement time, so they don't have to move with everybody else. They can, but they don't have to. So they keep them pretty segregated, pretty protected up there. Well, they get us to Colorado, and they just throw anybody in with anybody. They were mixing races. They were mixing, and Colorado follows behind California and West Coast politics. We don't eat after other races. We don't live with other races. Most of the business is done. We discipline our own race. So we get sent down here, and these new prison guards didn't know what the hell they were doing. They just mixed everybody up. I got off the airplane and I walked in and I had a 400-pound child molester sitting in a wheelchair, sitting in my cell. So I just wheeled him up, told him to go hit the button. You can't be in here. So it started like a chain reaction. I was young at the time. The higher up said, "Hey, you guys go clean the yard up." So we went and just started smashing fools off the yard that had bad paperwork or rats and chomos, basically. And they ended up not knowing how to deal with it because it was new administration. So they just locked us all down. So then we were in the hole in the shoe back there, and it was called segregated housing unit. It was the shoe, but they didn't know how to deal with us back there. They had us on a strip cell, and it was literally they had half the pod was people that were checked in, and half the pod were gang members. They just didn't know what they were doing. And at first they were like letting us out. They wouldn't let us out, but they'd put us, so the showers it's just a big dog kennel and it's partitioned by chain link. They'd throw you in the shower, and they'd throw 5 people in the showers, and one in each stall. But they were mixing us up. They'd put the gang members right next to the weirdos, and we would start spitting on them and peeing on them through the fence and doing whatever. A couple times we'd get the fence open and got a hold of a couple of them, but they didn't know how to deal with it, so they just locked us all down. And after about 4 months of us being locked down, the cops were doing fucked up shit. They had us on strip cell. Like, they were spitting in our trays, feeding us ghost trays. They'd hand us a tray. There was no food on it, but for the camera, it looked like there was. We'd go 3 or 4 days without eating. They'd have you in there in your boxers with, we're cutting our mattresses open and, like, getting inside the mattress to stay warm. It's April outside. So we're up against the ice wall. It's all brick, so the cold air's coming in. And we just got tired of it. Well, the night I caught my charges, I had actually, the nurse had not given me my meds. But she acted like she did, and I flipped out. I said, "No, fuck that. I'm not going for it." So they have the phones that wheel on the carts to the doors, and you talk to the doors, or you talk on the phone through the tray slot. Well, I don't know how, but I talked the cop into bringing me the phone. I told him I needed to call my lawyer. It was bullshit. But when he brought me the phone, I yanked the phone off the tray slot, or off the podium thing, and pulled it through the tray slot and had it pulled into the room. And then I had the cords from the phone tied through the door, so I had the door tied shut. Well, they called. This is after we'd been cell extracted probably every day for 2 or 3 weeks at this point. And I finally got them to bring me the phone, and I got it off the cart and pulled it in the thing. And they didn't. The ERT team came to cell extract me, but I had that phone in there, And they told the captain, they were like, look, we're not going in there with him with that phone. If you can talk him into giving you the phone, then we'll go in there. But we can't go in there with him having that weapon. So the captain called the warden, and the warden came, and it was probably like midnight at this point, 11 o'clock at night probably. And the warden said, look, if you give us back that phone, we'll give you and all your homeboys back to property. We'll give you your food. We'll give you your blankets. We'll give you your clothes, everything. So I was like, man, I'm not falling for that shit. So they actually went and got all my partners their shit. There was probably about 9 of us back there at that point. They went and got everybody back their property. And then I cuffed up and gave them the phone. They gave me my stuff. I went back to my cell, and not 15 minutes went by. The warden and everybody left. The cops were pissed that the warden had bargained with me, basically. So the cop started running his mouth, and one of my partners asked for some toilet paper. He said, hey, man, I need some toilet paper. I got to take a shit. And the cop said, man, fuck you, punk, wipe it with your hand. So I'm thinking, oh, fuck. So we're going to have to board up again, do whatever. Well, at that moment, the dude in the bubble, I don't know what happened. The dude popped every door in the unit on accident. He hit the all pop button. And the cop was standing there at the podium, and he didn't know what to do. He was eating his lunch. I walked out there and snatched his lunch away from him. And he got scared, and he took off running. Well, we chased him, and he got into a cell and locked the door. So that's where the kidnapping charge came in. I didn't physically touch him, but he was locked in the unit with us, and we wouldn't let him out. We wouldn't lock back down. So at that point, we just started ripping all the doors off the hinges and beating up the child molesters and tearing everything up, and basically kept him hostage for about 7.5 hours. And they called the Denver County SWAT team, the Weld County SWAT team, and about 7 in the morning, they finally did like a 40-man breach team, and they came in from each side and shot us all with the block guns and pepper ball guns and got it back under control. And at that point, they shipped me off to Colorado State Penitentiary, and I sat there for the next 4.5 years, went to court, turned my 3 years into 15, got kidnapping, false imprisonment, rioting in a detention facility, and inciting a riot.
And how much time did you do straight?
I did 10 straight. I had done, so when I was younger, I caught a couple little charges. I did 2 years, got out for a couple months, did another 2 years, got out for 8 months, and then went back for 10 straight.
So you're supposed to be home in less than 3 years with good time, and then you go catch that brand new bid.
I was actually supposed to be, so I was court ordered to do an RSAP program, which is a residential substance abuse treatment. And I could have been home in 18 months, but I was a gang member. Something happened that they sent me to a medium security prison, and one of my partners got in a fight, and the dude ran out of the cell, and I grabbed the dude and pushed him back into the cell. So they charged me with assault and put us in segregation, and they told me that they're not going to move that other guy off the yard. And that's the only yard that I could be on to do this RSAP program. So if I wanted to sit in the hole for like 11 months or something, they could let me sit in the hole. And when that guy got released from prison, then they would let me back out on that yard, because they had this on KeepSep that I could do the RSAP program. If not, I had to sign a custody waiver and go to the closed yard if I wanted out of the hole. So I'm not sitting in the hole. I'm thinking, oh, well, I'll do 3 years instead of 18 months. And went to the closed yard, and they sent me out of state.
Unbelievable, right? Pretty violent over there in Colorado?
Colorado's pretty bad. Saw one of my partners in the cell, went in there and took damn near cut dude's head off. I seen some GKI kids going there. Actually, I think they're Westwood Hood, but a child molester came in from one of their had a victim that had a family member in the prison, and they paid the cop to pop the door, and they went in there and they stabbed the dude 75 times and cut off his hands. Like literally cut his hands off.
What did they use?
I have no clue. I mean, there's so much metal floating around. It's some at that time I think we had the black boxes, so they took the black boxes away right after that. So I think that's what it probably was. Just a jagged piece of metal.
What do you mean, the black boxes on your hands, or?
No, the black boxes for our foot lockers. They're all metal.
Oh.
I mean, I've cut a couple of them up before, so they make some pretty good bangers out of them.
What'd you have to use to cut them black lockers? What did you use? Nail clippers?
Razor blade? Hair clippers.
How long does it take to cut a knife out of one of them?
If you stay on it, I can get one in about 6 hours.
That's what people don't understand. When you're making something in prison, man, you're making a prison shank or a knife. You gotta work, man. You're working.
Oh yeah,
sweating.
I mean,
working.
I've cut a piece out of a door. It took me about 25 razor blades to do it. You can do it with a razor blade too, but basically you're just etching. Like if you take a nail or something and scratch it across your car hood, it leaves a scratch. Well, if you keep digging in that scratch, it's going to eventually cut through. So, I mean, just imagine you got to do that all the way around, shape it, then you got to get it off, sharpen it. Everybody hears what you're doing. It's not no secret. The only one that doesn't hear it is the cop.
Yeah, ain't that
so
crazy?
It puts people on point. Other people start doing it. It causes a ruckus because nobody knows what your intentions are.
Oh, I've heard people cutting knives, and I've heard people sharpening knives, and I've been like, hey, tell my cellie, yo, you hear that? And my cellie be like, what? I'm like, man, someone's cutting a knife. Someone's sharpening a knife. And then you start wondering who it is, what's going on. You know,
exactly.
Crazy life to live.
You don't know which. Yeah, I mean, you always got to stay on point. Colorado's real political and real, if you're a gang member. I mean, there are independent people there. And even the independent white dudes, they still follow underneath the gang members. Like in the chow hall is segregated, the Serenios sit up front, then the affiliated whites, then the unaffiliated whites, and then like GKI and GD, and then Bloods and Crips sit in the back.
What's GKI? I never heard of that.
GKI is Gallant Knights Insane. It's a Denver homegrown. They're in the feds now too. They've got a couple of RICO indictments. They're a pretty big group from Denver, Colorado.
White dudes?
No. Well, I mean, there's white dudes in it. It's a Mexican gang, but there's white dudes. I think they might. I don't think there might even be a black dude involved in it. It's not a racial gang. It's a neighborhood gang.
Yeah.
It's west side of Denver.
I want to ask you about that cop. So when the cop, you guys get charged with kidnapping, holding him a hostage, was he scared? Was he in there like, please, guys, I don't?
Yeah, and we were trying to get him to give us like stuff out of the office. We're telling him, well, hey, because it originally started how he got scared. My partner looked at him and said, "Oh, I'm gonna cut your fucking head off." And the dude, like, I snatched his lunch from him.
Yeah.
And my partner told him, "I'm gonna cut your head off." And the dude took off running and got locked in that cell. And we tormented him at the cell door. We tried to get the door open and tried to break the windows out. They boarded up from the inside. There was 2 cops in there, actually. They boarded up the window. They stuck paper over the window, just like we boarded up, so we couldn't see them. They had their radios for most of the night, but I think eventually the radios died. The unit we were in, I mean, we were confined in a unit. We didn't get out of the unit. Yeah. We had all the windows broke out. If we had got out, I mean, we wouldn't have been able to go nowhere.
What if you guys would have got him out?
I'm not really sure, man. I think we probably. I'm glad we didn't, honestly, because I wouldn't be sitting here probably if we ended up being able to actually get to him. I mean, it was we weren't thinking. Nothing was thought through. It wasn't a planned riot. It wasn't. We were just fed up with the way we've been treated for the last 4 or 5 months, and we got our opportunity and we popped it off, and we weren't going to lock back down. We said, fuck that. Make us lock down.
I watched a documentary about riots not too long ago, a couple months ago, right? And they said that, man, it's not usually the ones that are planned that get set off. It's the ones that just happen spontaneously. And I'm sure had he not locked them, you said it was two of them in there, had they not locked themselves in that cell, you're right, you probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to me, because in the spur of the moment, people don't understand when you're in prison and things are going and you're hype and you're just going, man. And you don't think about the consequences. You just do what you're doing, and later on you think about the consequences, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, on my last, so I did 4 years in Max for the riot, and they released me to the yard in Colorado. I went to a closed yard. I went to Lyman Correctional Center, and I continued gangbanging and doing what I was doing and going on missions. And this last one really, it made me think, because I was told, it was in February of 2015, there was a dude on the yard that needed to go, and we were told, hey, look, he's got to go. He's got to go on a stretcher, complete the mission or become the mission. So we went in there and we locked ourselves in the cell with this dude. And we damn near killed the dude. It was, had the cops not got a hold of us, the door ended up getting popped, and the dude somehow got out on the tier. And we kicked him down the stairs, threw him down 2 flights of stairs, and just got back on him in the middle of the pod. And they were actually doing a walkthrough for the prison at that time. It was right after a rec call. So all the doors were open. And the dude, when they seen him, he was in the cop in the bubble. They were doing a walkthrough, like a tour for new correctional officers. And they were walking them all through in plain clothes. And the dude in his boxers, covered in blood, we'd already been in the cell with him for about probably 5 minutes before he got out of the cell. And he was like running and tripping and trying to crawl to the slider. And the slider was partially open, and the cop seen it. And because there was civilians out in the thing, the cop locked the dude in the pod with us. He just shut the door. And we had him for another probably 7 minutes before they came in, because they had to get all the people out. And they charged us with attempted murder on that one. And at first, I didn't care. I wasn't planning on coming home. So I ended up going to Max for that. And then I ended up getting out of the Max unit back into a step down program, MCU. It's a management control unit. So it goes from SHU to management control to closed custody treatment, and then back to a yard. You got to go. It's a step down program for gang members. And they put us in there, and I actually went to parole. Like, I still hadn't learned my lesson. I went to parole. They had moved a kid in my pod that needed to go, and he actually had participated in a murder in the prison and then told on something, and he didn't think anybody knew. He was still out there gangbanging and with paperwork on him, and he was the same gang as me, so I was the only one that could get to him. They slid a knife under the door. I went to parole. I didn't even know I had a parole hearing. They called me and they said, hey, Dement, you got a parole hearing. And they have grates on the bottoms of all these doors. So I had this knife in my pants waiting for them to pop the rest of the doors for this dude to come out. And they called me out. So I had to cuff up with this piece of metal in my pants and go to a parole hearing like that. And when I came back from the parole hearing, I'm thinking, what the fuck, dude? What am I doing? I got a chance to go home. I didn't even know I had a chance to go home. It was a surprise. I'm not thinking they're going to parole me. And within half hour, they still hadn't popped the doors yet when I got back. And had they popped the doors before they told me I was paroled, I would have continued doing what I was doing, and I probably never would have came home. But God must have been with me something, because they didn't pop those doors. They called me back out there and they said, hey, if you complete this program, we're going to send you home. So I was actually on the floor with some of the generals that make the decisions. And they told me, look, dude, just go home. If you have a chance to go home and if this is what you want to walk away, you got one chance right now to walk away with no consequences. But if you fuck up and fuck your parole up and you've made the decision to walk away, then you got something coming, which that would have been good. Or if I had came back once I got released, I mean, I'm marked now. I was able to leave with a good name, but I won't have a good name if I decide to return. Basically, they gave me that chance to walk away with no consequences if I really decided to change. So
I want to ask you this, right? So when you walk away, right, there's opportunity here. Your freedom's here, and the knife is here, right? The gang is here. When you decide to walk away, how did you feel, man? Did you struggle with the decision? Were you like, man, I still want to be a part of the brotherhood and be with my homeboys and part of this gang?
I definitely struggled with it. I struggled with it when I came home. I still tried to involve myself in shit. And even though there was still some guys that saw the opportunity for me to be beneficial, so they would still try to utilize that for me, sending them contraband or moving money around out here once I got out. And I finally had to literally just change my phone number and make the decision, because if not, I was headed right back and it wouldn't have been good.
How do you feel, man, now that you made that decision and you've been free?
I feel like a man now. I mean,
say that again. I need you to say that again for people. I want people to hear that again.
I feel like a man now. I make my own decisions. I'm not doing somebody else's bidding. I'm living my life. I'm making my family happy. The ones that were there for me when I was in prison were my family. Whether anybody wants to believe it or not, all the gang members, they were there because it was beneficial, not because they gave a fuck. Everybody's expendable. I mean, as soon as I was gone, somebody took my place immediately. They were within minutes. I mean, but I get to come home now. I get to live my life. I get to drive my brand new truck. I get to buy my wife things. I get to see my family smile. I get to hear the kids laugh. I don't have to deal with. I actually had one of the founding members of 211 crew. I got the pleasure to be with him. His Jesse Bowers, rest in peace. He's dead now, but he on his way out, I was actually cellies with him his last 2 days, and he told me, he said, the worst choice I ever made was to join 211 crew. He said, he looked at me and he said, do you consider yourself a good dude? I said, yeah, I haven't told on anybody. I fight when I need to fight. I do what I need. I handle my business. I pay my debts. And he said, well, how can you call yourself a good dude and make the ones that you love cry every day? Make the ones that care about you cry every day missing you. Wow. And it really made me think. So, but yeah, I don't miss that shit now.
You don't miss it?
I don't miss it now. I did at first. It was a lot easier. Adjusting out here was not easy. I came out here, I relapsed immediately. I didn't know how to deal with anything out here. I didn't know how to work a phone. I didn't know how to work email. I hadn't drove a car in 10 years. No one woke me up in the morning and fed me breakfast. Shit was different. It was difficult at first.
Hey, that's why I said at the beginning of the video, hopefully people watched it all the way through. I said this will probably be one of the best ones, right? I didn't know what you were going to say or really what we would talk about. Just let things go, man. Real and raw, right? But the things that you said, you know, about leaving the gang and, you know, hey, look, man, and what Jesse asked you, man, that's what it comes down to at the end, man. Like, you know, that gang life in prison, people don't realize it's a miserable life, man. And it's not even fun. How many times you stabbed the dude and went to the hole like, fuck? How many times, man?
3.
And 3 times. And what? You probably, how many stabbings you got? 3?
I've got 3. And every single time you got to start over. And every single time, all those people that are supporting you on the street have to start over because you lose all your property. You go back. You get 1 phone call a month for the next year. then you might get 2 phone calls a month. So you don't know what the fuck's going on with your loved ones. You don't really, like, it gets to a point where there's nothing to talk about even. Like, my family members are like, what do you want me to say? I mean, you're in there. What do you want me to do? Like, here, I'll send you some money. That's about it. But all your actual relationships just go out the door. And you basically just become a burden to the ones that you care about. And you lose all your property. Then when you get out of the hole, then they have to send you in money. They have to spend $2,000-$3,000 again to get you your property back and get your TV and radio and sweats and shoes and keep you fed and all that. And then at the drop of a hat, because somebody's jealous of somebody else having 2 boxes of cakes instead of giving them 1, now you got to go stab them over nothing and start your shit over, while the people, I mean, and they've earned their spot, I guess. They've done a lot of the shit too, and they're in that spot to call the shots because they've worked. Well, not even all of them. Some of them are there because of their friend was, and they moved up in rank fast, and they didn't do shit to get it. But basically, you're following somebody else's orders at all times. When you wake up in the morning, you roll your mat up, shoes on. When the door unlocks, it's shoes on the floor, boots on the floor, or feet on the floor, boots on your feet. So you're up all day. You don't have control of what goes on. When someone says, go out here and do 500 burpees, that's what you're doing for the next 3 hours. And you don't have control of your own life. There's no control.
Don't you miss that, man? Having to do 500 burpees?
No. Not at all.
I'm just messing with you, man.
I went from 190 pounds to 240. I'm fat and happy and living life.
That's what's up, man. I gained a lot of weight myself, but man, I jumped back on this thing this week, man. I'm gonna get it together, bro. I've been running every morning, hitting that bag, hitting them weights, so I gotta fix it, man. I'm not happy with what I'm doing.
I'm not happy with what I am right now either. I want to start working out again. I've been kayaking a lot.
That's what's up. So, hey, listen, before we close, though, you ended up meeting a chick. Did you get married?
We're not legally married, but I mean, we may as well be. When I got out, I had never seen Facebook before, and a girl actually messaged me on Facebook, and we had like one mutual friend or something. I was in Florida, and she was in Colorado. When I got out, I paroled to Florida because that's where my family was.
Yeah.
And she was in Colorado, and she clicked and she sent me a friend request, and we ended up talking on the phone. And then for a few months after that, we ended up FaceTiming every day and talking every day, and we fell in love. And she moved out here. We'd never even met. She moved out here to be with me, and we've been together ever since. That was in 2017. And I had 1 parole violation when I got out. I immediately started fucking up, so I was absconded within like 6 months. And I actually was on the run for 2 years, but the only reason I made it that long was because I stopped fucking up. I was going to work every day. I wasn't out in the mix. So eventually, though, I got pulled over and had the warrant, and they extradited me all the way back to Colorado and had to redo all the parole shit. I only went back in for 21 days, but they said because I didn't have police contact for 2 years that they would give me another shot at parole. I came out here the second time and completed it. And now I own my own company. I work for myself. I got my own house, 2 vehicles, living life.
Can't beat it. Look, man, I appreciate you, man, and definitely stay in contact, man. You're a good dude. And I'm sure people are going to comment, man, when they do, man, on the channel, man, respond, bro. You know what I mean? It's good.
I will.
Hey, I appreciate you, man. I'm going to close the show. Blood on the Razor Wire TV. Hit that subscribe button.
I got one thing to say.
Okay, go
because
ahead.
I know your major message is to save these kids from life imprisonment and premature death. Something I got to say to these kids is get a job or get a legal hustle, kids, because it's cold outside and you get hungry real quick. But prison life ain't fun. So,
You know, listen, the reason I didn't ask you that at the end is because of everything that you had already said. Like, if that didn't sink in, you know, the stuff about what Jesse told you and, you know, being a man, those are the things that, you know, I want the kids to grasp. But definitely, man, like you said, it's cold outside, man. And it's not easy. It's not going to be easy.
it's not.
But you know what? It's so much more easier than sitting in a jail cell, man. So much more
It
easy.
is.
So,
It is.
hey, listen, man, again, I appreciate you, man. Blow Down the Razor Wire TV. We're out until tomorrow.